Welcome in then to the latest edition of Extra Time. Come on, Sid, look at the camera. What are you doing?
Okay.
Right, we're live. Come on.
Sorry, I'm sitting on the floor cross-legged, and my legs have gone to sleep, so I'm just stretching them out.
All right, okay. Are you okay now?
Sat on the floor.
Why are you sat on the floor? It's a good question from Steve Nicol.
I'm all right now. Yeah. Because normally I've got a bean bag, but because I'm going away on holiday tomorrow, the bean bag is loaded up with the crap that I've got to put in the suitcase.
But you're taking a bean bag with you on holiday?
No, I'm not taking a bean bag on a holiday. It's just a convenient place to load the things onto.
All right, I see. Where are you going? Anywhere nice?
I already told you that. Just south of Valencia.
This is television, Sid. We're pretending we hadn't had that conversation before.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. You know what? I didn't know we were even recording the show at this point, so I'm just...
Yeah, that's right. Goodness, right, good. How many years have you been doing this, Sid?
Tell you what, it's a good job. It's a good job I didn't use my usual fruity language, isn't it?
Yes, it is good. Yes. down the Jurgen Klinsmann road. Right, Stevie. Start, bench, or drop. Oh wow! Well, you can play this. You can play this game. Sid, we're still live. You know, it's still happening. Stevie, start, bench, drop, and sell.
Sorry.
These Liverpool icons
serious face.
In their prime. Rush, Suarez, Barnes, Salah.
You got to start Rushy.
Start Rushy. It was on the show, obviously. Lovely man.
Oh my goodness! Have you seen his goals per game?
Yes.
It's absolutely insane.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to start Rushy. I mean, I guess I'm a little biased, but you got to bench Barnsley ahead of Salah. I mean, if the game was played, the way it's played today, if Barnsley was playing today, he would be scoring as many goals as Salah.
Right.
I mean, just lights out.
So in what way would it be different back then? Did he just get kicked a lot? It wasn't as open?
Well, you could physically, I was going to say harm people, but basically you could.
Yes.
You know, you basically got to kick at somebody to slow them down and make them scared or stop them or whatever. So basically, physically, he wouldn't have to deal with that.
Right.
He also would have perfect grass to play on. And somebody with his balance, I mean, on a perfect field today would be absolutely incredible, as great as it was back then.
Right.
He also had to defend. You know, it was 4-4-2 back then, not 4-3-3, and you know, the three up front basically stay in the other half. So that's why I'm going with Barnsley over Salah, as brilliant as Salah is. So it would be start Rushy, bench Salah, drop. Start Rushy, bench Barnsley,
Yep.
drop Salah and sell Suarez.
Sid, with your Liverpool ways?
Okay. The problem is that this requires a counter question. The counter question is, how good is the rest of the team? Because if you want a player who's going to do it out of nothing on his own, then Luis Suarez is the one that starts. But I would agree that if the rest of the team is really good, it's really hard to see a scenario in which you don't play Rush if the rest of the team can provide for him. And Stevie knows this, that Ian Rush was a genius, but he had really, really good players, in particular Kenny Dalglish, making him a genius and making him the player that he is. So I think if you haven't got a great team, then Luis Suarez starts. But I'm like Steve, I can't look beyond John Barnes. I think John Barnes is the best of the four.
Can I ask you a question, Sid? Did you write Suarez's book by any chance?
I'm biased.
I think
there is a mechanical thing here. There is definitely a mechanical thing here. Hang on. If we're in a position of trying to decide who's more biased, is it the guy that once wrote a book or the guy who actually played with these players and is best mates with some of them? Stevie, I think the bias might be yours.
Sid, are the rumours with Felix to Villa gaining any momentum in Spain with reports that neither Barca or Atletico have plans for him?
Well, they're gaining momentum in the sense that Atletico, everybody knows they don't want him to continue, and he doesn't want to continue, and that's a really bad situation that they need to fix, and they need to fix it any way they can. And as you say, the reports about Barcelona, well, basic scenario in which Barcelona don't really have the money for him, don't have the money to win over Atletico Madrid in terms of saying, right, we'll take him now. The question, I suppose, is how patient could Joao Felix be? Could he force a move through? So is the Villa thing getting traction? Yes, it's getting traction because everybody knows that a solution needs to be found. And frankly, any solution needs to be found. So if Villa are at all interested in him, and they absolutely are interested in him, then absolutely this is a situation which people think, please take him, because someone's got to.
We've got a lot of questions about 1984 after the revelation. You didn't know that you weren't supposed to be taking the first penalty, and then obviously picked up the ball and walked on to take it anyway. Before the 1984 European Cup final against Roma, is it true the Liverpool team was singing Chris Rea's I Don't Know What It Is, But I Love It?
Yeah.
A personal favourite of Craig Johnston's at the time. It apparently unnerved Roma's boss, Lowe, to think Liverpool would win.
So listen, at the end of the day, we don't know how it affected Roma and their manager.
Okay.
But I would suggest that, they're the home team. They're sat in their own home dressing room, and we've come down for the start of the game, and we're standing outside their dressing room in the tunnel waiting to go out, and we start singing I don't know what it is, but I love it, just like as loud as we can. And it's a little tunnel, and so the noise is reverberating around the place. And of course, we're banging on the door as well as we're singing it.
Right.
So whether that affected them or not, the fact is that they were at home and we deservedly won the game, albeit on penalties.
Don't Wimbledon boast they did something to you like that in the FA Cup final?
Well, that's why I'm saying you don't know how it affects them.
Right.
Right? Because, Wimbledon, again, the myth is that, they were shouting "Ship Ahoy" and shouting other things in the tunnel.
Right.
And that unnerved us.
Yeah.
Now, half our team played in that Champions League final against Roma. John Barnes played in the Maracanã in front of 100,000 and walked past them and stuck the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Peter Beardsley in the World Cups. I mean, to suggest that shouting "Ship Ahoy" unnerved us in any sort of way. Right. And by the way, when this is happening about 20 minutes before kick-off, because we've still got to walk out, we've still got to be introduced to Princess Diana, we've still got the anthem, all that stuff still to go on. Right. But as I said, we were in that tunnel and we were singing at the top of our lungs and banging on the door.
So it's probably more for you than against Roma.
So yeah, it absolutely got us. It got us going. Whether it affected them, I don't know, but we loved it.
This is something you won't remember, Stevie, considering you didn't know, obviously, you were supposed to say what penalty you were. Didn't the Roma captain, Di Bartolome,
Yes.
take the ball away from Graziani for the first penalty kick in the 1984 Cup final? Di Bartolome made his penalty, but Graziani, who would take the fourth penalty, missed his, winning as the deodorant of all mistakes.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I didn't think you would.
I don't know. I actually spoke to Graziani a couple of years ago.
Right.
Yeah, he was with a mate of mine in the car, and we came to the consensus that mine was still going round space while his had actually come back down to
Right,
Earth.
because yours was a little higher than his.
Mine was a little higher than his.
So did you follow this story from Stevie not knowing that he was not supposed to take the first penalty? How cool is that?
Well, it's just brilliant. Well, I followed the story in so much as it was what's up to me, as you know, and I just thought it was completely brilliant. I just love the fact that it took this long for Stevie to realise. And as Stevie rightly says, what ends well is fine. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it was. All the plans in the world, it doesn't matter. Here's Stevie Nicol. Everything's sorted.
Steve, let's go with you, Sid. What was the best decade of football you've admired in the history of the game, whether you were born after it or watched it in real time? Oof.
I don't think that the problem with this, of course, is that you're always going to end up going with kind of your own formative years or your own kind of nostalgia sweet point. Definitely. And I suppose in that sense, for me, it's the 80s, and for me, there will never be a year like 1986. And allow me to get personal here, or sort of personal. I was at the game in which all three of the domestic competitions in England were won. I was at Stamford Bridge for Liverpool to win the league title against Chelsea. I was at Wembley for Liverpool to win the FA Cup final against Everton. And I was actually at Wembley for the Milk Cup final between Oxford and QPR as well. And then, of course, to add to it, and this really is the one that kind of grabs me more than anything else as well, is to add to that, which was already a brilliant year, you get the 86 World Cup. And you get the 86 World Cup when Maradona does what he does. And that's one of the reasons why I still cling to Maradona as an icon. Because, of course, there's a purely subjective element to this. There is that nostalgia sweet point and that sense of this kind of being me discovering something. Now, this doesn't really happen anymore because, of course, communication is so much better, because we watch so much more foreign football than we used to. But genuinely, in 1986, Maradona is a discovery for me. Now, I'm 9 years old. I turned 10 during that World Cup. But Maradona is the kind of like the embodiment of, wow, this is how you play football. And so for me, it's 1986. I don't even need to give you a decade. I'll give you a year. 1986.
Stevie?
I'm going along with Sid, 70s.
Right, because that's when you grew up?
Just when I grew up. I mean, on the weekend, on a Sunday, I used to have an argument with my mother every Sunday not to go to Sunday school.
Right.
Because when I went to Sunday school, I missed the start of the football when it was on the TV.
Yeah.
So every Sunday we had an argument about whether I was going or not. So, yeah, 70s. I mean, it never even crossed my mind that there was anything wrong with playing in mud. Because halfway through this, well, certainly around Christmas, every field had no grass left on it.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem unnatural. It just sort of added to it. The challenges. I mean, I knew every single player and every single team. Just fantastic.
Stevie, have you ever gone against another manager who you thought was flat out cheating in order to win a match?
Cheating?
So let me take this in a slightly different direction. Obviously, we've seen this week the Spygate that surrounded the Canadian team. FIFA have just deducted them 6 points in the Olympic soccer tournament. They've banned 3 coaches because of the drone. So let me ask you a question that really only you can answer as a coach. How much difference does it actually make?
No. Do you know, it doesn't. It's what happens on the field. There are 100 million different things that could happen depending on whoever's got the ball at their feet.
Right.
Or whoever's making a run, or whoever's not making a run, or if the opposition's out of position. There are so many variables that one thing, it annoys you, but it doesn't really affect the game. So I mean, it's like, I think of myself now, right? So, because of the way I was at Liverpool, you know, they would never give the team out until they had to. Mm-hmm. And you were never allowed to speak about the team, who was playing, who wasn't playing. It was all like, oh, gosh. Now that I've gone through all of this and I've coached, and I did the same with the team, I would never give in with the team.
But why not? What difference does it make?
Well, it doesn't really. Now, I'm sitting here now telling you that, you know what, who cares whether they know the team or not?
Right.
At the end of the day, if Steve Ralston is on his game, it doesn't really matter whether you know he's playing or not, or whether you think he's going to take a free kick or not. So all of these things pale into insignificance. You know, you'll have people who say, well, it's small margins and maybe knowing that little thing. Well, okay, maybe that, but there's another 89 minutes and whatever seconds that you can affect the game, as opposed to...
So why have they taken this risk for such a small margin?
I don't know. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's pretty stupid, and for what? For the reward? What's the reward?
Yeah.
What's the reward?
What's the spirit of the Olympics? Sid, have there been many Spygates in Spain? I'm trying to think.
No, off the top of my head, I can't think of one. I mean, the famous one, which obviously was talked about in Spain, was Bielsa when he was at Leeds. And I think back to Bielsa's explanation of this, and this kind of maybe fits a little bit with what Steve's saying. And I remember Bielsa then going through this enormous PowerPoint presentation to basically demonstrate that he knew everything anyway. And I remember him making this point, which was really struck me at the time, and he said that I'm not sure if this makes a really big difference, but it's about my own sense of having done everything I possibly could do. So it was almost a personal need rather than a tactical or footballing need. In terms of a Spanish case of cheating like that, I can't think of one. I'm afraid.
Sid, since you live inside a library, could you recommend a football and a non-football book for us to read?
Oh wow, yeah, I could recommend loads. I mean, I think possibly the most moving, the most powerful football book is the one about Enka, A Life Too Short, which is it's just an extraordinary book. In a way, it's not even really about football. It's about depression. It's about humanity, and that's a really difficult read, but an absolutely wonderful book. So there's a football one for you. A non-football one. I mean, there's so many. I must admit, I'm not a big literature reader. My background is in history and politics, so I'd be more likely to lean towards a history or a political book. Maybe I'll try and marry the two. I still think, despite the fact it's an obvious answer, almost a cliched answer, I still think 1984 is a brilliant book. And actually, given that I've mentioned 1984, there's an absolutely wonderful book with a similar title, GB84 by David Peace, which is about the miners' strike in the UK, is a phenomenal book as well.
That's the most intellectual thing that's ever going to be said on Extra Time and ever will be said, I think, overall. Of course, recommendations, 5 league titles and a packet of crisps.
Yes.
Stevie's book, your book, Sid, La Liga. What's your La Liga book? You gave it to me, I didn't read it. What was it called?
Fear and Loathing in La Liga, yeah. You liked chapter 7, didn't you?
There you go, yes. And
what about Suarez's book?
Luis Suarez's
What's
book
it called?
as well, Sid, yeah.
It's called The.
Steve's book is actually Steve's book is actually up here somewhere.
Yes.
I'm not sure where, but it's definitely up here.
Good. Have you got plans to write another book, Sid?
Not at the moment. When I finished Fear and Loathing, I genuinely did think to myself, you know what, I'd rather drown myself than write another
Same
book.
as the readers.
But who knows? Maybe one day. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, exactly. I felt at one with my reader because we had the same mentality in that book. We were both thinking, please, just make it stop. Don't do this anymore.
So, do you make any money from the writing books?
That's the other terrible truth in this. Really? It's really not very much, no.
Sounds good. Let's get to the crux of it, Stevie. Would you rather fight a tiger or a great white shark?
A tiger.
Yeah.
Easily.
Tell Sid your Jaws story.
What do you mean? What one?
When you watched Jaws with Eleanor.
Oh. What? You wouldn't go in the water?
Yes.
Well, I'm scared in the water.
So ever since watching Jaws, he will not go in a lake or any sort of water, Sid. And how many years ago is that, Steve?
Probably like 13.
You were 13.
13 at the time.
And you never go into water.
Steve,
I do, but I'll tell you what, I'm scared. Like, I went with Nora, so we've got a little pond in the town that we live at.
Yep.
It's got the lifeguards and the whole thing. It's got the docks, and it's got a diving board. But it's like there's fish in it.
Right.
And it's like a sandy bottom, and there's like, it's not seaweed, but it's like slimy grass in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And I have to go in, because if Nora wants to go, I take her, and of course I've got to go in the water.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, when I'm swimming to the dock, my mind's gone. Let me put it that way. Honestly, I'm scared. I don't like it, I'm scared.
Sid, start, bench or sell the following wedding celebrations.
Yep.
Dan's wedding, your wedding, Kay's wedding. Well, you didn't come to my wedding, so you don't know, you weren't invited, were you, Sid? So that's that. Awkward.
Wasn't a quick affair, was it?
Yeah, you've just publicly aired. So a really sore spot here, Dan. That's really terrible. By the way, there's a simple answer to the last question for Steve, which is then answered by his fear of water. Whether or not you fight a tiger or a shark, the question is where. Because if you're fighting him, in a boxing ring or something, I'm taking on the shark all day. He's not getting anywhere near you. Obviously,
how
if
you
it's
get him in the
different,
boxing ring?
in water,
I
it's different.
actually
Anyway,
thought about that. when you were asking me the question, and I
cranium,
saw it,
you know.
I was actually thinking,
Yes.
if I was in the water, then I'd have no chance whatsoever.
No.
No, I figure I'd have no chance against the Tiger.
Right.
But at least it wouldn't be in the water.
I don't think that's part of the contract, is it? If
Well, that's
we're-
just how serious I take the
for your
questions.
pay-per-view viewing, I think it has to be underwater with a shark.
No, I wouldn't last long.
No. No, clearly not.
No, the Tiger, I'd have a better chance with the Tiger.
Sid, did you go to...
That is definitely pay-per-view. Pay-per-view, by the way.
I know, Steve.
Pay-per-view. I'd pay-per-view just to see Steve in the water, whether there's a shark there or not. It'd be absolutely fantastic.
It's better
Just
than
watch
that.
Steve swim to shore going, oh, God!
That's better than any wedding.
Yeah.
Did you go to Kay's wedding, Sid?
Anyway,
I didn't go to
sorry,
that.
you asked about Kay's wedding, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't go to that. Did you?
I did. The most extraordinary storm. I did, yeah. The most extraordinary storm I've ever seen driving back to the airport afterwards. You know what really struck me about Kay's wedding? And maybe this is a very rude thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Oh.
You know how in a church, the bride's family and friends are on one side, and the
Yes.
groom's family and friends are on the other side. Put it this way: when you walked in, it was pretty
tell.
clear which
Yeah.
side was which.
Yeah, which was
the
English-
Italians were
which was-
extraordinarily well dressed.
All the scruffy
It was
but-
just
all the
quite-
scruffy.
It was. I mean, we basically walked in and thought, well, that'll be us then.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be that side. Sid's wedding was great. Very good.
Aye.
Oh, lots of fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. That is it then. That brings us to the end of today's show. We'll be back tomorrow.